Well, I think the continued consumer trend that really got accelerated during the pandemic to transition to streaming platforms from traditional linear has a whole host of really interesting things that it's allowing to us to evolve from a business perspective, right? So a lot of the things that we were hoping to evolve have been accelerated by this transition to streaming. 25% plus consumers are now consuming on streaming platforms of all television viewing, right? So it's a really exciting trend for the industry. That coupled with the fact that, we're still in the golden age of television. There's so much amazing content that's being produced on streaming platforms and on traditional linear platforms. So it's a really exciting consumer trend, right, that's then accelerating some of the business trends in the industry, right? And, I think we've met some of those challenges head on, right? And in the last 2 years, we've actually evolved away from one currency to now a myriad of currencies. So it's really an exciting time for the industry.
Is the supply side doing enough to serve the needs of the buy side?
This is probably, if I had one concern about the evolution of the industry in the last 2 years, this is something that we could probably concentrate on more, right? So, I think that buyers have made clear their intention of what they want, from a media planning and a media buying perspective, but it really requires everyone on the supply side to get together to enable the same data partnerships that allow for media planning and buying, right? And to really create a platform for media buyers to look at things apples to apples across different supply partners.
What changes do you want to see accelerate?
So I think that kind of collaboration on the supply side needs to be accelerated for sure, right? I'd also like to see greater experimentation with new formats, right? So we're hearing from consumers as they opt into SVOD platforms in particular, right? You think about, 70% of streaming is probably concentrated in the big 5 players, and there are very few opportunities for advertising on those platforms, right? So when you see consumers opting into that, I think it really begs the question of, should we be investing in a new consumer experience around advertising? It's certainly something at TripleLift that we're experimenting with, right? So responding to the consumer trend, asking for fewer commercials, right? Probably more integrated experiences. A lot of the research that we're doing is showing that consumers are opting into that experience. So I think that's something that we need to accelerate. That's something that we need to invest in. And if we're going to come up with a new format for television, right, then that's essentially creating a new marketplace, right? So we have to work with people on the buy side. Marketers have to understand how to price these new formats, right? We have to understand how to create sales packaging that aligns with marketers' intentions when they're, buying traditional linear buy, a digital buy, right, and then investing in new formats. And we have to make sure that they can, ascertain the most effective reach and frequency across all of those and plan appropriately.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious, are brand integrations something that can be programmatically enabled anytime in the near future? Because that's something you guys have looked at, right?
That is the principal thing that we're working on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and the way that it works is, so we analyze streaming video up front, right? We take all of the shows from our partners, and we use a variety of machine learning modules to analyze those shows. So for instance, we do computer vision image and surface recognition to understand where we might do an insertion in a show. We also do natural language processing of the closed captions. And what we're doing when we combine all those different machine learning modules, right, is we're effectively replacing that kind of intuition that integrator marketers have with artificial intelligence. So now we know the right place to do an insertion and a place where, consumer attention is going to be focused, right, and where we know it's going to be effective for an advertiser. Then we use a variety of automated visual effects tools that we've created to do that kind of 2D, 3D object insertion. And the great thing about the way that we're doing it is we are leveraging existing ad infrastructure to actually stitch together the edited content. So when we go back and we do the compositing work, right, we've edited 6 or 8 or 20 seconds of video, and then we actually use server-side ad insertion to stitch together that edited video with the content stream so we can deliver it dynamically, right? In the same way that you call out to a commercial break, right, and based on your profile, you receive a certain commercial. Based on your profile, you'll now receive a certain integration.
What's the role of the supply aggregators right now across the TV space?
It's an interesting question, right? So, one of the things that I think we do need to evolve as well, perhaps on the buy side, is the ability to reach the mid and long tail, right? So From what I can see, a lot of video investment teams are concentrating their resources around some of the bigger players. So, if you're an agency, you might have your representative that deals with Hulu, that deals with YouTube, that deals with NBC Universal, right? But there are a ton of emerging publishers in CTV. You look at the fastest growing side of connected television right now is actually in free ad-supported streaming television services, right? And there are publishers that are distributing content to Pluto TV, to Samsung TV Plus, to the Roku channel. These are a variety of niche publishers that have really, really high quality content. So Kidoodle and Tastemade and Canela, right, Whistle TV. These are all publishers that are emerging on these free ad-supported streaming television platforms, right? And we're really seeing subscription fatigue, right? So we're seeing people top out at maybe 4 or 5 paid-for services and then gravitating and doing a lot of viewing in these fast channels. And we need to make sure that the buy side is structured and resourced appropriately to understand that opportunity, right? And they're able to measure it across all those different publishers, right? Right now, I don't think that video investment teams necessarily have all the resources in place to understand what that opportunity is and where it provides the ability to reach new audiences and find incremental reach.